For tonight, we cut to a flashback, an exchange between two individuals. And for our viewing sake as an audience, we can't exactly recognize who these two individuals are, an exchange between them. One of them speaks up. Well, if rumors are true, you've done more to rehabilitate your city in the eyes of the Camarilla than perhaps any other North American prince. You've enforced a strict masquerade, keeping kindred safe from the Inquisition. You've somehow forged a truce with lupines, promising peace on your streets. You've curtailed the numbers of anarchs and sabbats without losing the humanity which we cleave. And what's more, you uphold the role of Clan Ventrue Ascendant, even in these trying times. On one hand, I'm inclined to praise you as some kind of wonder prince. On the other, I must question how long before the flimsy barricade around Chicago frays, its contained fire spilling to incinerate us all. We see her speak up and the other reply and say, well, that will all be determined alongside the fate of the Lysanders. An exchange that we once saw in a vision not years ago, but some time ago. And now we cut to the present, where we do see our Lysanders. They, in the previous night, had their own individual experiences that were heavy and have determined that it was their father, more than anyone, who has declared his own form of war, that if his children are to get in his way for what he is planning, and as he sees it, they are, he will stop at nothing to make sure that doesn't happen. And for Dorian, Silas, and Willow, it's been only a night since the events that happened where you were trapped and were rescued from your own traumas. And you haven't even had the proper time to process it, really, with each other, talk about what happened. It's been a lot. However, on this night, each of you receive a visit, wherever you are. At this point, you're probably gathering your bearings with the people that you found yourself with. But Silas, for you first get a summons from the Harpy of Chicago, requesting your presence at the Ivory Tower in Chicago to meet with Prince Kevin Jackson alongside the rest of your coterie. Now, for you, Silas, you didn't specifically send out a request to meet with the prince. However, you know that your siblings did. And now all of your presence is being requested together. So you get yourself ready to head out. Dorian, the same for you. This evening, you probably spend some time with Kayden and talk about things, the stuff that happened with your wife. You make sure that she is in safekeeping for now. And you also receive a visit from the Harpy, who also, the same thing, the request that you had been so longing to wait for. The prince, finally, is requesting your presence, and you too alongside your coterie. So this is not a one-on-one meeting, but a meeting with your siblings. And then Willow, the same for you. You recently sent out a request to meet with the prince for your own requests, but the Harpy does summon you as well, and you get the same reply that this is a meeting with your siblings. So with that, you probably get yourselves all together. That Lucas grabs your Lysander limousine and picks each of you up to drive to the bustling Chicago Loop, where the prince's domain is located. And the three of you have a moment to exchange anything amongst each other before, in the next 15 to 20 minutes, you will be arriving through the busy traffic of Chicago this evening to the prince's domain.
So, you were all invited?
Of course. You were invited? I'm joking. Of course you were invited.
Glad to see everyone's safe.
Yeah.
Dorian looks at the ground.
No thanks to Dad, but yeah.
No. No thanks to
Not
Dad.
everyone is safe.
What does that mean?
Dad still has my kids.
Not for long.
Correct. And like he said, he wasn't going to harm them, but we'll get them back.
We will get them back. I don't want them to end up like us. They have a perfectly good mother and father, and they deserve to live a life with them. We'll
Look,
make sure of that.
maybe word of what he did finally showed his true colors. Maybe word has gotten to Prince Jackson in the last 24 hours. Maybe that is what this is about. I mean, you just can't. It doesn't matter how powerful you are. You can't just kidnap and practically torture members of the Camarilla. That's even if they are your children.
Exactly.
What about the ritual? Wasn't that supposed to get us proof also?
I've been a little indisposed over the last 24 hours, so I haven't checked in. But yes, that is supposed to get some hard evidence, yes.
Good. I was
That'll
hoping
have
we'd
to
have
do.
it for this.
The regents are on top of it. They will... Look, you might not know them like I know them, but they won't let the Camarilla down.
I don't need to know them to trust you.
But as long as you two are okay, that's all that matters right now.
Yeah.
Oh. What matters right now is that we secure as much assistance and support as we can. We didn't stand a chance. That last encounter with Dad, it can't go like that again.
As long as he
Yeah.
has both of your blood, he can do whatever the hell he wants. That's his linchpin. If you can destroy those vials, he doesn't have any direct control over you.
Then that moves towards the top of the list.
Correct. We should
Dorian
probably...
looks out the window.
Lucas, how long to the Ivory Tower?
Should be there in another 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Everybody know what they're gonna say?
Or not say, and just be present. Look, I can speak on behalf of what the Tremere is doing, but I think this should kind of fall to Dorian. Ventrue to Ventrue, Ventrue to Prince, whatever you want to see it as.
Fine.
I mean, I asked for a meeting with the Prince. I didn't expect you two to come along, so we'll
Same.
see.
I didn't ask for an audience with the prince, so
I guess we just got lumped together, because I asked for mine privately as well.
well, a coterie is one unit. If this is a coterie meeting, then that's why we're all called.
It's fine.
We'll
It's
see
not
what he
like I have
wants from
anything
us.
secret.
That we shall. That we shall.
And for the three of you, at least some confirmation of your own stability from everything that happened, but it still weighs heavy on you. All of the decisions that your father has made, and as much as maybe you've wanted this meeting, it's sometimes you're like, you think to yourself, maybe a couple of extra nights would have been nice, but no, you don't operate on, the prince does not operate on your time, you operate on his. And as you pull up to the pristine ivory tower, a skyscraper in the bustling areas, the financial areas of Chicago, you've been here before. You walk into the pristine lobby, meet with the secretary, who informs you that the prince is waiting on the top floor, the penthouse. And as you get in the elevator, a slow, quiet climb to the top of this skyscraper, the glass window overlooking the Chicago sky and the lake. You make it to the top. As the bell dings and opens, and you enter into this familiar room, as when you do have meetings with the prince, and they are more private meetings, which you've had before, it is usually in his quarters at the top of this building. You enter in and you see two figures standing there. You see the sheriff, Sheriff Damien. And he stands next to the table in front of you, a longer table, in this more intimate setting. Standing before you is Prince Kevin Jackson.
It has always been my desire to make Chicago the crown jewel of the Camarilla. Not just in North America, but in the world, really. And we are nearly there. The Second Inquisition problem has been dealt with. The threat of the Lupines, no longer at our doorsteps. And the Anarch movement, nearly non-existent at this point. The recent Sabbat threat has been culled, and though my Primogen Council has taken a small hit, I am confident there will be stability amongst my court and those who serve the greater interests of the Camarilla. There is only one thing left for me that remains. That is the fate of the Lysanders. Greetings, children. Have a seat.
The prince beckons you into his more private room, where you do see a table, many chairs, almost like an executive meeting room that you would expect a Ventrue to have. And he stands at the head of this executive meeting room, and at the other end you do see Sheriff Damien.
Dorian would enter and give a formal bow and say, "Your Grace."
Damien, I like this. It's I know this might not be what you'd expected. I'm on the way out to one of my establishments, Calypso place I have downtown that I like to spoil every occasion. But your protocol is noted. He very much stares at Silas for a second and looks back at Damien and says, "Yes, Damien. Willow." And Willow. And he reaches to kiss her hand if she allows it.
She does.
Enchanté.
Hi.
And Silas.
Prince Jackson.
And he does have a seat.
I assume you all follow and sit as your prince asks you to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Promptly follow his lead.
Yes. And by the way, B. Dave, your mic is cutting out just a bit.
I basically have to be making love to it for it to
Yes.
not go as
Perfect.
Just a little nom on the mic.
Yes.
true. Also, I don't know this B-Dave person you're referring to. Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Prince Jackson.
Prince
Prince
Jackson.
Jackson.
My prince, thank you so much for agreeing to this audience. It is all of our pleasure. And you can see that Dorian is nervous as he adjusts his tie. I know previously we had discussed the terms of an arrangement with regards to my father, his dealings in the city of Chicago, and our intent to handle that situation for you and in your name.
If I recall, the terms of our previous agreement were but that I would need some evidence of the loyalty of the Lysander family. Is that not correct? To not just to me, but to the Camarilla. And I very much stare at Willow when I say that, and then look back at me.
That's correct. That was a part of the terms. I believe that as a family, we have had our missteps. Not just my father, but the steps that we have taken, the commitments that we're prepared to make for the Camarilla are ironclad.
Why do you think that despite your petitions to meet with me individually or not at all, such as it is, do you think I invited you all here? And I do believe we are missing someone as well, are we not? And I look at the sheriff and I'm like, was their sister not also invited to join us?
Yes. Val Lysander was not present when I visited her sire at the Succubus Club.
So surely your sister did not intend to offend by declining an invitation.
No, she did not. Our sister has gone missing.
And as far as we understand it, it has the hand of our father all over that.
In the interest of time, allow me to simplify for the three of you how this is going to go. I'm aware that at least two of you actively wish to petition me. And Silas, there are still things that I am quite aware that you wish as well. So I will give all three of you an opportunity to make your petitions, and then I, in turn, will make my decisions. I leave it up to you in which order that you would like to speak. You get full credit, Damien, for protocol, for having attempted to communicate to me Ventrue to Ventrue. Respect is registered. I would say ladies first, but I would also not force a lady to speak before it is of her own mind. So please decide amongst yourselves who will petition me first.
Well, mine might color Dorian's, so it might make sense for me to go first.
By all means, Willow,
Okay.
please.
One moment. I prepared documents. And she pulls out of her little purse a little mini clipboard, little purple clipboard, a little fluffy pen. And Machiavelli will scurry up onto her shoulder. It's a little rat.
You
That thing is housebroken. Like, this is an incredibly expensive furniture.
He's my ghoul.
That does not necessitate a yes to my question.
You know, rats are very intelligent, sometimes more intelligent than people.
Also not a yes to my question.
He's potty trained, sir.
Fascinating. Machiavelli, though.
Oh, yes. I very pointedly chosen his name. Very pointedly.
For the author of The Prince, or for the artist behind All Eyes on Me?
I think it's funnier if you decide.
There is no wrong answer. Please proceed.
Okay. So, you'd mentioned loyalty and then gave me a very pointed look. And I'll have you know, I take offense to this, but it's okay. I forgive you. Because I have been rallying the Anarchs after they ran off because they didn't feel safe in the city. And I've relocated them, bought them a nice little spot, and united them under me. And I'm very happy to be your liaison between them and continue relations as you did with Anita.
Is this your method of declaring that you are the new Baron of the local Anarchs?
Well, we've had some talks, and people are feeling a little... Well, you know, when you're attacked by Garu in the middle of the night, and then you have... And hunters. Oh my goodness, that was a whole affair. You know, people aren't feeling very good about leadership right now, and we kind of want to do, like, a council of sorts, which I think would be very nice. But I, of course, lead the council because I've paid for everything, and without me, they would have nothing.
I can verify that being the one that foots the bills and controls the accounts does sometimes give an outsized amount of influence. Yes.
Yeah.
And I look at the sheriff and I say, they have a council, sheriff.
I know, isn't that fun? It's like here, like with primogens.
Yes, sounds. Damien speaks up. The sheriff. Sounds to me like that does make you the Baron, Willow.
By proxy, if not by name, yes.
Happy to do that. And communicate with them on your behalf. After all, if you have me in control of them, then you have them in control. If that makes sense. Or I got that wrapped around the wrong way, but you get the point.
Willow, it makes perfect sense.
Oh, thank you.
So, to be clear, what specifically are you asking me? Because
Well-
I realize we speak harshly of your father, but he is nothing if not a shrewd businessman, and you are his daughter, so I think surely he will have taught you about the nature of agreements, contracts, and what is expressly stated versus what is not.
Yeah. I guess. I think they would be more willing to listen to you if you expressly stated that they were under your protection.
Recognition for the Anarch cause, then,
Yes.
is Willow Lysander's petition. I will make a note of this. Thank you.
Perfect. Of course.
Please put that thing back in your bag.
Machiavelli
Machiavelli
scurries.
goes back in the purse. Is this mean that you're going to rescind your comment on being loyal?
No, this also is not me ruling judgment on your petition, merely acknowledging said petition.
Can I resubmit at a later date if I don't like the decision? If I have a new argument?
If how to phrase this diplomatically? If I don't like the decision, there may be no later dates.
Oh.
But for now, we are speaking simply as loyal members of the Camarilla, and as such, I have heard you. I will render my judgment momentarily after I've heard the petitions of your brother.
Okay. That sounds very fair.
Which of you would like to speak next?
Please, Dorian, go ahead. You've been waiting for this.
Yeah, I guess that would be me. And he'll take a step forward.
Actually, Dorian.
My prince, if there's one thing that my father did right, it was raising me as a Ventrue. I didn't know it until my embrace, but I have always been a Ventrue first. You know our bloodline. You know our family's history. And you know how our father is using that. And I know that our previous agreement was that we would take care of this for you so that you wouldn't have to get your hands dirty. If anything, the fact that I'm here now petitioning for more help is a testament to how much power and weight this family does hold. Power that would be in my hands once our father is taken care of. I'm asking for a little more tangible help, and in return, I will offer a more tangible tie. I know that money is not an object for you. However, that doesn't mean that a large controlling stake in our family company and all the real estate that we own in Chicago wouldn't go a long way towards your interests. And, of course, in securing our loyalty.
So to be clear, Dorian, in exchange for having not done what we already agreed to, and in exchange for me having to get my hands dirty when expressly we agreed not to, in exchange for a stake of lands, holdings, titles, and such that would all be mine were there no more Lysanders. By no hands of mine, of course, by no hands of mine. But if things were to go the way they go, and you all simply, one way or another, cease to be factors, it would be mine. There is still something in this for me that would require making this worth my while, is what you're telling me.
Of course, mere mortal assets, of course, wouldn't be enough for someone such as you. I would, of course, offer a major boon, if that would.
Lysander. Dorian, Lysander. Okay. I'm going to make a statement, and then I'm going to give you a moment to ponder the position that you find yourself in our negotiations. Call it a bit of a Ventrue instructional, because I do have a vested interest in your personal well-being, my boy, and the clan more broadly. So I'm going to give you some time to think about what a real counteroffer is, but I want you to ponder something. Do you know why I'm called Paladin? What this whole thing is and why I even brought it out?
My liege, no. I apologize. I'm not aware.
Because when my family was threatened, when my city was threatened, when my sire and bloodline were threatened, I took this very sword. You see that? You see our crest there stamped upon it? You see, Dorian? I took this very sword and struck down our enemies and helped bring order to things. See, some of the lesser clans, no insult meant to anyone currently in attendance, have many astonishing capabilities. Some of them are strong, fast, can move in a blink faster than mortal or even kindred eyes can comprehend, and that is impressive. And such people are useful. And some can commune with creatures or believe they can see the future. And again, my eyes linger on Willow for a moment. And such things are interesting. But those things aren't power. Not really. Not really. Force, maybe, but not power. See, any system, when it is running properly, is invisible. Right now, there's cabling, moving electricity through the walls, pipes, carrying water, air being funneled about for those who need such things. And none of us notice any of that until something goes wrong. Should the sprinklers come on when they're not meant to? Should the heat go out and suddenly the temperatures plummet? Only then does anybody question the system. We, Ventrue, Clan of Kings, we are the system. We are running behind the scenes. Power is the fact that right now, even as you sit before me, you all can never really be sure when you actually got here. Is this the first time we've had this conversation or the fifth time? Did I simply wish you to forget and remember things differently? You may think, oh, I'll just check the clock and know how much time has passed, but you can never really be sure if you remember the right time in the first place. And what's more than that, you can never really be sure that I haven't already submerged directives in your minds that at some point in the future you will act in accordance with my will rather than your own. And the extra little bit on top is the fact that should such a day come, you will believe it was your idea. You will have no idea of the influence that I have had on you. That's power. The fact that from now on, for the rest of your own life, forever, you will never really know if your will is your own, especially if you act even slightly out of character. And even if you think you're sure, now your siblings will also have to question you. You will all have to question each other forever. That's power. And for the record, Dorian, should you find a way to offer me something that may be of more value, and I want you to think of this for the moment, and should you survive the conflict in the coming nights, these are all powers I would be more than happy to share with you. Because for what it's worth, I do think you, and even your brother and sister here, do have a important function in the future of Chicago and the future of the Camarilla more broadly. But for now, ponder what I have said.
Of course, Your Grace.
Silas,
Prince Jackson.
What now I realize that yes, you did not overtly ask to petition me for anything, but I am aware of certain movements. I am aware of certain actions being taken in my domain, as I must be. And so, now that you are before me, what is it that you would like to request of me?
As you just said, you are aware of the dealings of the Tremere in Guaranteed Rate Field, the current ritual that is being casted upon that very stadium structure, what have you. I'd like to see it as a gift from the Tremere to you yourself, to show not only the Tremere's loyalty to the Camarilla, but as a member of this coterie, I'd like to make it known that Dorian did provide the capital to purchase the naming rights and access to the field. The ritual that we're working on will... Frankly, it's amazing. Being able to find any kindred, any mortal, any Garu, anyone within your entire domain. You speak the name, the Tremere can find them. Using the lifeblood of Chicago. Full thaumaturgical surveillance. It was no easy feat, though. All I'd like to ask in return is you seriously consider Deucible for the open Primogen seat.
Storyteller, I have
Yes.
sent you a question in our chat there.
Ooh.
Yes.
So, forgive my ignorance, Silas. I like to keep... Remember what I said about invisible systems. Forgive me, Silas. I like to keep some tabs on the lineages of prominent kindreds in my city. But there are many of us, and sometimes things slip through the cracks. I'm not so great as a fool as to claim to know everything about everyone all the time.
Of course, you are a very busy man. No one would expect you to.
Your sire is not Deucible, but Ainsling Sturbridge, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So, you would act in such a way, now here before me, that when you could advocate for yourself, for your siblings, for your family, you would advocate for Deucible's ascension. Why?
The Tremere have, I feel, that the Tremere deserve the spot. I am merely a neonate among the Tremere. I am fully aware that time, patience, and hard work and dedication brings power.
You would be correct.
So Deucible... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I interrupted you, sir. Please continue.
The lack of Primogen counsel amongst the Tremere would be a great boon to them. Our numbers have dwindled since the fall of the pyramid. With a member of our clan in a Primogen seat, perhaps we would be able to freely sire more Tremere, bolstering our ranks. As I am but a mere 13th gen, me as Primogen without any children would not make sense in my eyes.
You have verified that your blood is in fact thick enough to create childer, have you not?
David says, technically, sir, if he did, it would probably be... there's a risk that it would be a thin blood.
Then please, yes, abstinence is in fact the best policy in such cases. there is something that I would like you to ponder, Silas, momentarily, and then I will receive your answer. And when he says this, the prince kind of bangs his sword on the ground 3 times. And behind each of you, people appear. They are just out of arm's reach. Each of them have swords on their hips that are very much within reach of your neck. And then he stamps the sword again, and they're gone. He says, my Banu say that Tremere blood sorcery is unreliable, dare I say treacherous, and they say they can do a much better job of anything that you can do, up to and including finding anyone that I might need located. So the thing I need you to ponder, Silas, is why I accept essentially your surveillance contract instead of theirs. Ponder this. And Willow, since your brothers now will need a moment to tumble some things around, allow me to put something to you to ponder. The challenge with the Anarch move, such as it is, the challenge with coming here and offering me their support, offering me that they will do what it is that I ask of them. Command is such an ugly word, Sheriff. I don't like to say the things I command, but my request that they would follow them. The problem is they already will. They're kindred in my city, in which I am the prince. I am already the law. I already command their obedience, or they will suffer the consequences. Consequences that you yourself should be quite familiar with, knowing that your sire is my justice. You know better than most what she's capable of. And it takes but a snap of the finger to unleash her. So, the question that you must ask yourself is why I need to let the Anarchs think I need their cooperation. Now, that being said, I realize this has been quite a lot for you to process. I, from my part, just for clarity, and I stamp the sword again, and those people appear again, and I wave them off. You physically see them leave the room. And I say, the sheriff and I will step out, give you a moment. You have no way of knowing if anyone is listening in other than the fact that I give you my word as Ventrue and Prince that you can speak amongst yourselves without surveillance and without interference. And when you 3 are done, simply and he picks up a silver spoon and taps it gently on the side of a crystalline goblet on the table and makes kind of a heavenly ring. Simply ring, and we will return. And without waiting for them to say anything else, the prince and the sheriff get up and leave the room.
So good.
2 of them exit, leaving the 3 of you to deliberate amongst yourselves.
Deliberate we will.
Oh, okay. That was something.
That didn't quite go the way I hoped, but it didn't go as badly as it could have.
That was a big old nothing burger, if I can say so.
Yeah.
It's not
Dorian?
enough.
Dorian,
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you think what he said was right about my argument? Do you think? Because my thought, I'm looking for constructive criticism here. I was thinking that even if all of that is true, Dad always said that a lot of politics is just the visuals, right?
That's right.
So it looks better if he makes a statement, right?
You know, Willow, I think you made a really good case. And,
You brought paperwork.
Did put it all out beforehand, and I detailed out the territory that they have over there and the kind of resources that I could provide.
if I were the prince, I'd be looking for you to demonstrate that you understand the true value that you bring.
Well, I had also thought, and maybe I should bring it up when he comes back. I don't know. I need your help. With the Malkavian Primogen being gone, and possibly them being taken off the council if Dusable's on, possibly, or even if someone else gets on, it means that he won't have one at his disposal. And I'm not necessarily asking to be Primogen. I don't think I'm experienced enough for that yet. But maybe the princes of the ages, especially in our time, always had a seer with them. And that's something I can provide. It's something that the Lysanders can offer. My visions are always correct. And maybe, I know there's not a position for it, but I could offer that. Especially with the Malkavians being off. Do you think that's silly?
So your offer is to be his truth sayer? His seer?
Yeah, essentially they used to do that back in the olden times, like in the Lysander times. That's what Malkavians were.
You mean you heard what he said? He has your sire already under his thumb. What makes you different?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's actually their specialty. Not every Malkavian can just see the future.
I don't know if these offers are enough.
I'm just trying to think of something.
We clearly underestimated what exactly the prince was looking for. I mean, I knew that the the stadium, your offer, Willow, we needed to demonstrate loyalty. I didn't expect that it would get us so little traction. It's not enough.
I don't know what we can give.
You think he's a betting man?
I always like to think that, powerful men go one of two ways. They either love to gamble because they think they're so right all the time, or they don't because they're like Dad and they want sure answers, right? I don't know which way he falls.
I don't think the prince is the type of man that leaves things to chance. And you heard him talk about power.
And the way he spoke about the Tremere. He said your power was unreliable at best.
Yeah,
Which is just rude.
That's just Banu Hakim talking. No. This, for me at least, he thinks his Banu Hakim are better than the Tremere.
Oh boy.
Silas.
No,
Silas,
no.
hold up.
Hold on.
What? What are you thinking?
Our ritual is almost done. If not completed.
Maybe it is.
We find
that's a good
someone
point.
before the Banu Hakim does.
That's
To
a
show
really good point.
that the Tremere are not using lesser powers.
Unless they already know. I mean, before the end of this conversation, we need to bring up Sierra and what we think Dad is doing back at the house, right?
We need to bring up what happened to us.
I think so too. It seems right to at least... Actually, I could show him.
I don't think he's going to let you touch him again.
I could ask. Nicely. And then if not, we can tell him. But if he's somebody who's so adamant on proof, I can just show him.
No, I think it's worth a shot, Willow. Yeah, you should do that.
Besides, I'm
And
trying to
Silas, if
show...
you-
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. I'm trying to show him that we can be useful to him. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea, Willow. I
Thank
think
you.
I think that's good. And
And if
Silas,
he
you'll
if he doesn't go for it, then what?
I guess we'll just have to tell him. We have witnesses, though. I mean, I have a few people who... from the Anarchs that came to break me out, and someone got you both out. We have witnesses. Worst case, if he won't let me, but
we're
Realistically, it's all hearsay.
look. I think we stand a good shot here. I think the prince is testing us. Willow, you make your case. Silas, you play your play with the Tremere. And if it doesn't pan out, you know, well, I'll figure something out.
got this. We're not...
We're Lysanders.
Yeah. We win. We always win. We literally have never done anything else.
I think if you two make a good case, I can reach the prince Ventrue to Ventrue. I think that there's something there. I think that's important to him. That kind of loyalty.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I ding the bell?
Go ahead.
Or the glass? She does the little ding, 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 ding. I'm a little gobble.
The prince makes a point of still making you wait a few minutes because he doesn't come when cold like a common servant,
That's fair.
but does
That's fine.
eventually return with the sheriff and has a seat. Fruitful deliberations, I hope.
Very.
Oh, very.
Listen, I do want to tell you all something important. Obviously, as prince of this city, I have a number of interests that I must be mindful of, many that are directly competing with one another. And I won't insult your intelligence, not just as Lysanders, but as individuals, that I, of course, have ambitions for even greater and greater things during these chaotic nights. But it was not so long ago that I was like you all, young and ambitious, and just needing an opportunity. I was fortunate that Loden saw something in me. And this by no means guarantees that I am about to agree to anything that you have asked me tonight. But I do want you to know that if I did not think that you as individuals and as a coterie had something meaningful to contribute to this city, I would not be taking this meeting. You understand that?
We understand.
Of course.
And please, now, who would like to speak? Because after this, I will, in fact, be rendering my judgment.
Silas, do you want to go first, or shall I?
I'll take the lead.
Go ahead.
I would be lying to say the Banu under your employment or members of the Camarilla are not skilled. They are. But them also saying that the Tremere blood sorcery is lesser, or, as I've read, stolen from them. It's plainly wrong. There has to be some way we can prove ourselves with our ritual. Whether your Banu Hakim want to take part is up to you. We are all aware that there is the potential of a Methuselah in the city. A wager, then.
Before I hear the terms of your wager, do you personally, Silas Lysander Jr., bearer of your father's namesake, do you... You know, it is interesting that he blessed one of you with his name and the other one of you with his blood, but I suppose that's something to unpack another time. Do you personally believe there is a Methuselah in my city?
I do.
Now, I've heard rumors so fantastical as they could not possibly be true. Sheriff, the identity that we were told of the sleeping one?
Yes, we were told of the potential of a Lysander Methuselah sleeping in the city.
From fucking Sparta. Like 300. Sparta. Come on. That's like saying there's an actual Jedi somewhere in Chicago. That cannot be so, correct?
We have on good authority knowledge that there is one. Yes, its whereabouts are currently unknown, hence the ritual. Not only to find this Methuselah, but to offer up guaranteed rate field as a gift to you. They are both means to an end, or a beginning for whatever you choose to do. The Tremere will use their ritual to find the Methuselah, and your Banu can use their powers to find it as well.
And to the victor, the spoil, such as it is.
Sure, if you'd like to see it that way.
But don't allow me to put words in your mouth, good sir. Is that the terms of the wager that you intended to propose?
I'd like to propose that whoever find it not only get your blessing, but be the more prominent users of blood magic in Chicago.
Actively antagonize the Banu. I like it. They won't, but I do. Allow me to ponder. We'll render my judgment shortly. Is there anything else that you would like to add, Silas?
Not at this time. My sister and brother also have updates to their discussions.
Moonchild, please proceed.
Okay. That's a fun name.
It's an old one.
That's great. That plays into what I'm going to talk about. First, I'd like to address what you had said about the Anarchs. I think the most valuable thing that my father taught me growing up was a lot of business ventures and politics. It's all about the visuals, and it's been that way my whole life. So, yes, the Anarchs always will be under your control. That's the truth of the matter, but optics are everything, even in the kindred world. Saying that you support them only ingratiates you to us, to everyone, to the city. And I think that sometimes is power in and of itself. And Unless you would like to comment on that, I will continue.
No, please.
Okay. Secondly, and there are 3 points to this,
Mm.
just to set your expectations.
Did you make new notes?
I did.
Hmm.
It's important to be organized.
I like a thorough person. Please.
Yeah. It makes it easier to get through all the jumble in my head. So, second, she looks back at her notebook again. I would like to... You mentioned loyalty, and I know that's important to you, and that's important to us, too. I mean, you can look at the history of the Lysanders. There's a reason we don't embrace anybody else. Loyalty, right?
Some might call
And-
it incestuous, but sure.
Yeah, something like that, too. With the Malkavian Primogen no longer with us, I by no means think I am experienced enough to hold that spot. And whoever gets the spot, I wish them the best of luck. But on the off chance that it does not go to Malkavian, I want to extend my services to you, should you need them. I know that my sire is not exactly, well, their specialty, they have lots of specialties. You already know them all. But
They are very capable.
yes, but what I do better than anyone else is foreseeing future events. I've not once had one not come true. Even this is one I had. I was right about this too.
Recall, there was already... how should I put this? Because surely I would never have been told that there was an attempt to scry upon me, because such a thing would be unforgivable. So that must not have happened. But and I think you also didn't mean that you foreseen this exact set of circumstances, correct? That isn't what you meant, right? That's not what you meant, Sheriff. That's not correct.
Phrase it.
If you'd wish to explain the visions that you saw, that may be best.
It wasn't exactly scrying. It doesn't work like that. But I'm happy to explain. It's more I focus on a thing, not necessarily you in this case, more you. If you are in the future that I'm trying to see, you will appear. But it's by no means of scrying on particular individuals, though that is something I am capable of doing. You are not the one I was scrying on in that moment. It was more our future as a whole. So, no, I wouldn't do that, and I try not to do that because that's super rude to just peek in on people's lives, but...
Rude is one way to describe it. Fatal is another, but yes.
Yeah, so, no, it's just because you happen to be there, and they sometimes are vague.
For the sake of spoilers, I would rather not know what you've seen, but I guess it couldn't have been too bad, or you would not have come tonight.
No,
Although- Understanding what I know, and this is where the nature of fate versus free will becomes a bit twisted up, is that once you've sort of seen something, then the probabilities collapses on the one type thing. Like if you saw fire and screaming, it wouldn't have been so simple as just we won't come. And the fire and screaming would come to you at that point. Is that
oh yeah, I
correct?
mean... That is the difficulty with searching into the future, is you never know how that future will come about. And sometimes avoiding that future is what brings the future to you. But it is incredibly useful. It's similar to how Silas was talking about the Banu Hakim and how they can find people for you, or the Tremere. It's a great location device. It helps with knowing where people are and their intentions.
So to be clear, what you're offering me is your personal service.
Oh, yeah. I figure if you're not going to have a Malkavian primogen anymore, you could at least have somebody who knows a little bit, in that realm of things.
Is it possible for you to give me some sort of demonstration of this power?
Perfect! Actually, that flows into point 3!
Hmm.
It does require a little bit of trust on your part, though. Let me explain. And she goes down her little checklist. This also very conveniently flows into what Dorian's going to talk about. See? It's perfect planning, really. And part of our evidence. I'm going to do 2 in 1. 2 rats, 1 stone. So, we've been talking a lot about our father. And before we met with you tonight, we were all kidnapped by our father and held in a bunker. And starved. And that sounds outrageous. But I'm just going to show you if you'll allow me.
What
See,
does
it's a
allow it-
demonstration. Well, it's a demonstration and it's evidence against our father on how he's been very bad.
Hmm.
All I'm going to do is you'll extend your hand, if you don't mind, and I'll extend mine,
Mhm.
and we'll touch hands if that's okay. And
Sure.
I'm going...
A moment, if you would. Sheriff, what we heard about Los Angeles, that business with Vannevar, Therese, all of that, I know the rumors were inconsistent, but it did seem like it played out something very similar to this, did it not?
Yes, this does have etchings of that incident.
Willow, Lysander.
Yeah.
And he hands the sword to the sheriff. And he says, swear on the lives of your brothers, here and now, that whatever you're about to attempt means me no harm.
Okay. Do I have to hold a hand up?
No, that's not how this works. You just say it out loud. Like,
I, Willow Lysander, swear on the lives of my brothers that what I do will not harm you at all.
the moment she says it, he holds out his hand.
Okay. It's not gonna hurt, obviously, but it's a lot to see. You're gonna see my memories, okay?
That normally I would ask consent for such a thing, but since you were the one revealing, I suppose that
I'm gonna show you.
that's not right. Oh, okay.
And she'll grab his hand very gently. And she'll close her eyes. And recall the memories starting at the family home.
Okay. Willow, I just want you to roll me very quickly a resolve in aspects for this.
Okay.
And as you do, the prince extends his hand. You see Sheriff Damien standing over the two of you, watching as this happens.
No pressure. I mean, well, I guess I know that I'm not gonna hurt him, but he doesn't know that. Okay. I'll resolve aspects as a trait,
As you do.
as I do. 6 successes.
With 6 successes, you extend your hand, Willow, and you share your senses outstretched to the prince, giving him a glimpse of what you've experienced, the horrors of it, the trauma, the room, all at the hands of your father. Is there anything specifically, Willow, when you dig into your mind, that you are intending to show the prince beyond these visions?
Oh, beyond what I've stated I'm going to show him.
Just curious if
I think maybe as they twist through these memories, and I believe he would see them from her point of view in these visions. I think she would show him, like, seeing that it goes smoothly, to support Silas's argument of Methuselah, I would show him the feeling, or present the feeling, the memory of sorts, of when I was trying to find the Methuselah, and the way it kind of blocked me from seeing it. So when she was hunting through the web for the Methuselah, and it essentially kind of growled at her in the moment at trying to be located. Because she's achieved what she wants here, and she wants to help her brother with his... This is the only other evidence they have of this Methuselah. So.
And Prince Jackson, the vision that you see in your mind, this isn't the first time you've experienced something like this. You have worked with Malkavian in the past, and you know they are gifted with this, not just the gift of premonitions, but also sharing their visions if need be. You've used it to delve into things that your hound has looked in the former Malkavian Primogen son. But the things that Willow shows you, she shows you their family home in River North in Chicago, and them meeting together. There are visions of vials that he holds in his hand of blood that he uses and commands over. You see the flashes and visions of this. And then Willow shows you something deeper, as there's a circle, a spiral of shadow that spirals down into their family home. And that's when this shadow, it fights back. And it's a little unsettling for you. This is not what the vision it's so far has been, more of just a sit and watch experience, but now you feel it fighting back a bit and resisting. Something there. It fights back, this shadow, this looming shadow fights back, and then you're brought back. Dorian and Silas, you watch this. Damien watches this.
The end there, that was the Methuselah.
The prince just puts one hand on your shoulder and says, I apologize to you, child. Those are things that should not have been. Your home, your family, your father is supposed to be a sanctuary. And he takes his hand away.
Thank you for letting me show you.
I'm not sure what else could be added to that, but anything else, Willow, before I allow your brother to have his say?
That's it. Just wanted to thank you for your time.
She closes her little notebook.
He looks at you for a moment and he says, tea sandwiches you wanted? Tea?
Yeah. Did you feel that through my visions?
Tea sandwiches in a small place setting for a rat?
Yeah. She unzips her purse, and little Maki comes out ready for snack.
Go ahead, Dorian. I've got my lunch. Thank you, Prince.
We they have a we have a way that we can process blood to make a sort of a jam spread. Sure. Okay.
It's lovely.
The harpy enters in. the Toreador Harpy, Brett Stryker, delivers small vials of blood and jam mixed with tea.
Go easy on those, but enjoy.
Oh, thank you. This is so sweet. This is a
no
great
one-
experience.
No one ever speak of the fact that the prince served tea cakes. That's one of those
It-
in this room.
It will stay between us.
Oh, for sure.
And last, but certainly not least, you know, Dorian, we, Ventrue, all have the same blue blood in our veins. And as such, we are all family. I've known your father a very long time, and in a way, that makes you a nephew of sorts to me. And as such, I hope whatever you're about to say will be a credit not just to yourself, but to all of us.
Mm-hmm. Well, my prince, I thank you for this opportunity. First of all, I have been thinking a lot about this family's place in the Camarilla and what loyalty means for you. My siblings, they brought up the threat of this Methuselah, something that my father has kept in his back pocket. And I'm sure that you're aware of the whispers and the reason why our family still carries the weight of our lineage. I also understand why my promises of loyalty, or all of our promises, don't really amount to much in the threat of what that kind of power can do. It's not a guarantee for you to just have a promise or a major boon. So, as a show of loyalty and demonstrating that this family is 100% committed to you, and that I am 100% committed to the Ventrue, I offer you a bond. I will offer my blood to you, if that would please your excellency. And he will give a deep bow and hold it.
I believe you have that exactly reversed. And while he's bowing, I just hold out the ring for him to kiss it, which that is a Ventrue ring. If the camera won't focus on it right. There she is. I do hold it out for him to kiss it.
And with no hesitation and just the slightest downturn of his eyes, he kisses the ring.
And I gently place one hand on his shoulder, and on the other, I bite my wrist. And I hold it out for him. With this,
Dorian pauses.
you will join my family. And you will be forever severed from your father's crimes, but not severed from his legacy, should you be able to wrest it from him. Do you understand what you're committing to?
I understand what I have to commit to. Absolutely. Your Grace.
He holds it there, bleeding wrist.
And Dorian will give a look to his brother and then his sister.
And you see a slight hesitation on Silas's face, but he doesn't give you a no or like a nod, but you just see it in his eyes, like.
Mm-hmm. And Dorian doesn't wait long for one either.
Mm-hmm.
He will take the blood as it is offered, and he will let the beast swell within him as he imbibes the blood of his prince.
my boy, you understood that in terms of these negotiations, there was only one thing that you could have possibly offered me that would have been of interest, and that was you. Well played. Don't worry, Silas. And I do sort of put an arm around him. I understand the Tremere's precarious nature with bloodlines. So as such, I will ask no such thing of you. In fact, my assistance to you is, in fact, assistance to both of you. I am, of course, quite aware of the ritual that has been performed. Had I not wished it to be performed, it would not have, although it needs to be run under the proper supervision. Willow, all of you, I put the question to the assembled Lysander coterie here. Do you know the number one thing that separates us away from the Anarchs? And while I say that, I sort of look down at my wrist that's bleeding and just sort of lick a little bit of it off. Just sort of like, do you know what separates us?
From the Anarchs.
Yes.
Structure.
In a
Power?
manner of speaking. Oh, definitely power. In a manner of speaking, yes. The thing that separates us is protocol. There's a way things must be done. Not should, must be done. For a proper and efficient functioning of an eternal stability. Mortal lives come and go. It seems things are moving faster and faster out there. Humans, to some, a mere few nights' sleep ago, were living in caves, warming themselves by fire, and now they have rockets on the moon. I'm no ancient, but even in my time, I've seen things change quite a bit. And it is necessary to think not just in terms of a night or a week or a month, but millennia. Protocol. Because of what you and yours have set upon doing, and I was quite clear, Silas, that you meant for it to be of some assistance. Otherwise, the aforementioned Banu would have already introduced themselves. I have summoned the Ventrue Archon Lysander to come to Chicago to oversee this ritual and, more importantly, oversee its results. And when you locate this Ventrue Methuselah, she and she alone is qualified to adjudicate how to proceed. Because I'm not so great a fool as to say that I have any idea how to relate to someone who is 2,500 years old. Lucinda's not even 700 yet, and our conversations are quizzical at best. When you meet her, do not let her appearance fool you. She looks not so different from you, Willow. I assure you, she is something much different. And should we, as a clan, and as a sect, and as a city, be charged or faced with some sort of foe that Lucinda is incapable of dealing with, well, then our nights are all ready. I summoned her some time ago. It's one of those I threw it before I came in the room type things, but she will of course arrive in her own time. When she does, I will inform you where and when to meet with her. And when this happens, you, and I cannot impress this enough that I need you to relay this to the Tremere, will listen and obey her. You understand?
I understand, Prince. Yes.
As far as your wager with the Banu, was offered in good faith. And they may bristle at the idea. But what did they say this was called? And he looks at the sheriff. Fisher King? Fisher?
Yes, that is the proposed ritual.
I have the utmost confidence that the Tremere are exceptional in this regard. But you also must understand that a man in my position doesn't necessarily find it positive that anyone can be located at any time, which, for your elucidation, Willow, is why you encountered the resistance you encountered before. Should you, hypothetically, have attempted to look into things that you weren't supposed to look into, it's because some things, some people, aren't meant to be seen. So, how this will be adjudicated in the future is a different conversation that we will have, and I would request, humbly, of you and the Regent, that next time you all intend to do this, rather than have it be a show of good faith, you will consult me first. And yes, if the Tremere are of the service to the city that I truly believe you're about to be, I am prepared to consider the greater fortunes of the claim.
That is all we ask. Thank you, Prince Jackson. I will be sure to relay your message word for word to the regents.
And finally, Willow. What do you know of my personal history? You can speak freely should you know something that you're not supposed to.
I don't know much more than what Critias teaches in class, really.
Good. And he looks at the sheriff again. He's like, good. Suffice it to say, I came up in a world where nothing was given to me. I came up in a world where respect and power were the only things that really mattered. And I climbed to the very top of that ladder in the human world of influence that was alternatively preserved both by respect for my word and fear for my retribution. Wild. My heart still beat in my chest. And then I was made aware of an entire different world, an infinite, eternal world with a much, much, much higher ladder to which I need to ascend. And full disclosure, the Anarchs are children. You three are children. I myself, to some, such as the Methuselah that we seek, am but a child, and I hate to say that despite my numerous accomplishments, I probably still am one to Lysander as well. But the difference between me and these other children is impulsiveness, emotion. The Anarchs operate off of how they feel, what they want. They want to be free. That buffoon temple out on the West Coast declaring the Anarch Free State as if it is within his power to eject the Camarilla long term. He's made some progress in the last few nights, but okay. And even Annabelle attempting to stir up New York. I'm surrounded on all sides by sentiment, by emotion, by passion, which harnessed is good, like fire in a fireplace. But when not harnessed, is bad, like fire in the wilderness that burns everything to the ground. Now, that being said, I meant everything that I just said to you about not needing in our cooperation. I've already got it. But I also know that I am not so great fool as Vannevar Thomas, who ignored Baron Temple and his friends and coterie, and by ignoring them, lost not only his city but his head. So, I believe you said politics is opulence. Yes?
I did.
Here is my offer to you. I, to take a note from that upstart pup Temple in his anarch-free state, am going to have an anarch-free Chicago, but in a very different way, as in there's not any. There will be no anarch movement in Chicago. That will be my decree. However, your people will be allowed to continue unmolested, unimpeded. If they do not become a problem I have to solve, they will not be hearing from the prince's law, or more importantly, the prince's justice. They will be allowed to exist freely and mysteriously. Should they forget to present themselves in the Elysium, I will overlook it. I will do this in exchange for two things. One, and he looks at Dorian, the anarch movement, such as it is, will make Silas Lysander Sr. their pet project. His interests will be attacked. His supply lines will be disrupted. His properties will be burned. And you will harry and harass him at every possible turn. Mysteriously having access to the combined knowledge of the people that know his soft targets the best. And you all will make waging a war on him. Now, the second thing is you yourself, Willow, will declare yourself the Baron of the Anarchs. If you find it easier to prop up a useful puppet, that's fine, but you yourself will be the real power of their movement. You will direct them, and you will hold their leash, because as chaos erupts in my city, as violence erupts in the streets, after I expressly said there wouldn't be, someone must be held accountable. And do you know who that will be? Lysander. And he looks at Dorian. Silas Lysander Sr. Because he will have brought disruption to my city. He will have staged these incidents in order to make me look bad, to weaken the power of the prince. He manipulated the mind of his own daughter, because surely the child of my own trusted hound could not be doing anything in open rebellion. It must be. And along with this comes the blood hunt decree in the right of the final death. And in that, and he still has his arm around Dorian, you will have everything that you asked for. You will have the full might of the Camarilla, the full might of the Anarchs, the disruption of your father's interests, and the location of the Methuselah. And from then on, the sky's the limit for you, my boy. There is one minor caveat, but first, Willow, I know I just said a lot. Do you agree to the terms as laid out?
If I'm recalling and understanding correctly, I need to declare myself as their Baron. And whether I decide to put someone as a puppet is my choice, as long as I'm the one pulling the strings. I will send them after my father. And if anyone ever asks, the Anarchs don't exist? Have I missed anything?
I think you understand. You can feel free to scribble some malformed and badly written A's on some of his properties because I'm going to blame him for all of it. So, because again, surely you would never be an open insurrection. Which
No.
leads me to one final thing. I like to fancy myself a student of history. U.S. history, in fact. And I am aware of what can happen when you arm and train a fighting force that you intend to send upon an enemy, and it in turn comes back upon you. Dare I say, I myself am what happens when you train a fighting force to sick upon an enemy, and it turns back upon you. So I also need certain assurances of your continued loyalty, Willow. And he holds out the still bleeding wrist.
She looks at it. And almost in shock, not necessarily that she's displeased, but just, oh.
I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't taught a lot about what this does.
Always read the fine print. This is a blood bond. Silas, not to put you on the spot, but would you like to explain to your sister the blood bond that she will be agreeing to and that your brother already has? If not, I can, of course, but far be it from me not to defer to an expert on
No.
such things.
I would be glad to. Willow, you know how Marcus and Lucas are family ghouls.
Yeah.
A blood bond to another kindred is in a similar vein. The first drink, you will agree to Prince Jackson's suggestions. You will never think bad about them. You are at their beck and call. The second drink will feel like, well, that Prince Jackson has been there for your entire life, like a family member. Along with the original first steps of admiration. If he requires it, the third drink will be as if you are indebted to him for all of eternity.
Okay.
You will need
It's
his blood until he wills it over.
okay. So it's like signing a contract.
A
You,
very,
yes.
very long-term contract, yes. However, I do want you to understand all of the subsections of the fine print. For many, 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 many reasons. I have no interest in crushing your will. Your will is one of your greatest attributes. You, as well, Dorian. My only interest is in ensuring that you adhere to both the letter and spirit of the agreement that I have laid out.
Okay.
As long as you keep your word, you will never have anything to fear.
Then I'm happy to do so.
He holds it out.
She's very gentle. As in character, very, very gently. Has a nom.
He reaches out and he sort of pushes a little bit of hair back on both Willow and Dorian. and actually brings them in and hugs them both.
Oh, so nice.
And then he looks at you, Silas, and he says, as I said, I respect the Tremere's history with such things. And I'm actually leaving you free in your mind and will completely your own as a show of good faith from me towards the Lysanders.
Well, I appreciate
Theoretically,
that.
you will have some insight should your siblings start acting in ways that is not in their character. But as I already mentioned earlier, there may be a lot of reasons why that happens. So I think this has been incredibly fruitful. Sheriff, guns, cars, money, cash, safe houses, drop houses, that stuff, you know, whatever you need. We still have the demolition grade explosives from the construction site, right?
We do, sir. Is that something you would like me to?
I'm not here to tell you all how to wage war on your father. I'm just here to simply enable it. But I look and the hour draws late. Again, I do not know when Lysander will arrive, but it will be soon in the coming nights. Is there anything else that you all would ask of your prince before I'm needed elsewhere? I could get you all a table at the club. It's there's a paltry table service that starts at 10,000. It's nothing to Lysander, but it's if you all would like to accompany me out. But I assume there's something else you all need to do tonight.
There's
Yes.
one more. One more
Yes.
thing I'd like to address. Sierra Van Buren. Burris.
I was wondering when you were going to bring that up.
I understand that you have a lot of plans that have hinged upon her and the Lysandra, and that there may still be a lot of value that you see out of that relationship. However, she is 100% involved in whatever's going on with my father right now. And she's absolutely made it clear that she's an enemy of this family. And I know that this isn't necessarily in your best interest, but I would beg for your permission to remove her from the playing field completely.
You are asking for me to invoke the right of destruction on Sierra.
Oh, please. Please.
Yes. Yes, that's absolutely what I'm asking.
Request denied. And
Oh.
he reaches out and sort of straightens your tie a little bit. He says, remember what I said about a longer game. She is still an important figure in our newly formed La Sombra community. They've gone to great lengths to ingratiate themselves to me, and they are useful to have on my side. And he continues to sort of smooth his suit out, and he says, but in the ensuing chaos, these unruly anarchs that refuse to listen to reason until they are dealt with in their own right or brought to heel. Should something happen to her, who could say? It's dangerous these nights.
Understood. Right? I would never do anything to jeopardize your interests in the city.
They're not just my interests, Dorian, they're yours as well.
Of course.
As I said, I've known your father a very long time. On the one hand, it does not surprise me that he has raised fine children. But it surprises me that he has made such terrible use of such obvious assets. Now, far be it from me to complicate the deal at its conclusion when I've already gotten what I wanted. But none of you asked me to do anything in the recovery of your sister, or are you assuming that it is simply going to be included in the greater brouhaha, such as it is? They hate the brouhaha hate when I say that.
It is under our... It is knowledge we received in the past few nights that our sister had somewhat allied with our father and taken a deal from him. He offered
Of her own
her...
free will?
Excuse me?
Of her own free will?
As Willow showed you, he has access to certain dominate and blood sorcery powers. He held them against my sister and I, but yes, she chose this of her own free will to leave the city.
For what it's worth, I have consulted with the Banu. I myself am no blood sorcerer. Now the church is such as it is. But from what I strength of our on Dorian should help at least giving you some defense. Your father. But it may not be a perfect defense, and I do not mean to promise it as such.
If we can get her back safe and sound and she is still an ally, it would be of great importance to us, but it's clear that she's played her hand in this fight. We hold no ill will against her. She's looking out for her own well-being, but it is understandable seeing what he can do at this time.
Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
He stops and thinks for a second. Says, I hereby decree a blood hunt on Val Lysander. You will send my hound, Alexa Santos, after her. However, she is simply to be taken into custody. Further judgment on whether or not she will meet the final death, or if she, too, is simply an unwitting victim here, will be decided at a later time.
The blood hunt will be called.
Lysander family. And he stands up.
Yep.
Please, Silas, what would you like to say?
I was going to say that we also will stand up. At least Silas would, as you stand up.
Yeah.
I believe this has been a very fruitful meeting, and I look forward to a long and very profitable and fruitful relationship with all.
Thank you, Prince Jackson. It was extremely fruitful. We know your time is very valuable.
And he takes the sword back from the sheriff, and he looks at it for a second, and he says, Dorian, return this to me after it has been used to take your father's head.
Of course, Prince Jackson. And he'll grab the sword and hold it close to his chest with a sort of like reverence in his eyes. You can see starting to shine through as he looks at his prince.
And the prince merely nods, turns, and leaves.
And Prince exits the stage, leaving our three Lysanders alone after their fruitful and fateful meeting with Prince Kevin Jackson. We thank our guest, B. Dave Walters, for joining us.
Yes.
Prince Jackson. Woo!
Yes.
That was amazing.
That was so good.
Thank you so much for joining us as Prince Kevin Jackson and determining the final fate of the Lysanders. I must quickly sing the praises of B. Dave, who fully understood the assignment in that he came in I gave him some notes, and he came in and had thoughts and even his own suggestions from a Ventrue perspective on how things could be handled, and just did it so swimmingly. So I am just so grateful that he was able to join us this evening. Thank you so much, B-Dave, for being an awesome guest.
Yes.
Thank you all, and thank you for allowing me to share the table with you, especially here near the end when you have so little time left. And yeah, best of luck, and just remember, always read the fine print.
And with
True.
that, everybody, we are going to take a quick 10-minute break, and then we will return for the second half of Ancestral Blood, but we still have a lot of stuff we got
There's
to cover,
more?
guys.
Yeah.
There's more. So get yourselves ready. There's a lot of stuff that we still got to do. Go grab a drink, take a break. I'm going to let these players breathe for a minute because they're probably sweating.
A little bit.
We
Yeah,
absolutely-
you got the fun.
I don't know what you mean. I didn't get yelled at. I got my tea sandwiches.
I just need you to know I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry about any of it. I apologize for nothing.
They absolutely got scared shitless this evening, and I love it. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes for the second half of Ancestral Blood. So don't go anywhere, and we'll see you in a little bit. BRB, everybody.
Bye, friends.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thanks for your patience waiting. We took a little extra time to process everything.
Had to shake off
As-
the
as-
jitters, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Had to process a bit before we returned back for our second half, but we do still have a lot to cover. So I am going to dive right back into it with our coterie. So for the three of you. As you're exiting the Ivory Tower, Sheriff Damien does make note to Dorian and Willow that in order for the blood bond process to fully complete, you will have to return the following nights to the prince and drink from his blood several more times. So he or one of his hounds will be visiting you the next few nights to bring you back to the tower to make sure the process is complete and that transaction is fully done. So you're informed of that as you're making your exit. And the three of you take a breather for a moment of what has just happened, processing everything. Not only the events from the night before with your father, but now what just happened with the prince. And you take your leave for the evening, and we enter into the next night. And Dorian, for you, the first thing that comes to your mind when you rouse this evening is not the prince or your siblings. It's your wife and the actions that you took the previous night with your wife when the two of you are confined to a room at the hands of your father. You embraced her into Clan Ventrue.
I did.
And during the summons with the prince, you left her in the care of one Kayden Bartlett, who assured her safekeeping. And also, as the two of you probably know, in the early nights of an embrace, a kindred can be very dangerous. They are at levels of frenzy at many times. They need to be fed blood delicately and not risk draining people dry. Kayden assured she would be taken care of. She would be fed. No, there would be no collateral in these instances. And you trusted his word. He gave you his word. And you left Kayden with your wife while you were taking care of business with the prince. And so this night, as you rouse and you head out, you go to check on your wife and Kayden in a secure location. This building that Kayden has. It's not in the usual spots that you would have your business, like the Mag Mile or the Loop. It's in a secure location a bit south, past Chinatown, down by Lake Meadows, skirting the lake a bit. Kayden has a safe, secure spot that he has given you the details and information of. And you head there for this evening. You knock on the door, the surveillance, and you see a familiar Banu Hakim greet you at the entrance, letting you in. And you are greeted by your ally, Kayden Bartlett.
Kayden,
Dorian.
is Adeline here? Is she okay?
She's fine. As I said, she would be under watch and given the appropriate steps and precautions, and we can go see her in a bit if you'd like, but there's a couple things I'd like to discuss unless you want to check on her yourself.
No, we should talk. There's a lot to talk about.
Yes, we were having a discussion, and then you were summoned.
Well, when the prince calls.
You go. I hope it was fruitful.
It was. You know, it was very beneficial to this family and to my goals. Yeah. It's about time. I'm sure you understand the position we're in, too.
Quiet.
Well,
Right. I'm curious. I know that things have been interesting as of late. A lot of changes in the city are happening. The most recent situation with your father, I've heard some rumors and been given some instruction on some of the potential changes that are happening in our fair city. But I wanted to talk about you in particular and us in the future.
you know, I've been wanting to have that same conversation.
Well then, please, go ahead.
You know, Kayden, we've been working together for a bit now. And in that time, I would say that we've developed a pretty beneficial relationship, an understanding of each other. I don't think that's too much of a stretch to say. At times, seems that the alliance that we've built, this union, is more reliable than some of the ones that some of the relationships that I should be able to rely on. What do you do this for, Kayden?
Do what for? Explain a little bit more. What do you mean, do what for?
All of this. You know, not just the business, Camarilla, being a Ventrue, making your moves, your plans. You know, what are you in this for?
The same thing you are. Clan of Kings. We're meant to rule. We are the rule. We are the law. We are the justice. We are the arm. Sometimes the shield. Sometimes the sword. Sometimes the backing. I know it's the same with you. Look, there's family blood, and then there's your actual blood. And your blood bleeds blue, Dorian.
I had a feeling you'd say something like that. You know, we we pretend that a lot of this is built on logic, you know, opportunity. We're building an alliance together because it makes sense, right?
Mm.
But I'm starting to understand now what it really is to be a Ventrue. It's a deeper understanding of what all this is, especially in the Camarilla. And I see this as a very important partnership to me and my family. I don't say that very lightly. And I know I haven't always given you a lot of reason to trust me. But I think that I should work to fix that. Because where we're about to go, we're going to need to trust each other completely. Now, the first thing I should tell you is that I'm sure you're aware the whispers around my family. And I'm sure you have your own theories as to what that is. I'm sure you've poked around. trying to figure it out. But there's not that many kindred old enough to really tell the story. And this threat that my father poses, it's a threat that I myself also pose. I'm sure you were wondering. I know you thought rightly think a lot of your abilities and your position within the Camarilla, but I'm still a young, upstart Ventrue. Why would the prince possibly want me in his inner circle? And the fact of the matter is that this power, it's something that even the prince would be scared of. So, he's bringing in the Justicar to deal with it. And if we deal with my father, if we take him off the table, the only one with the power, with the ability to control that power, is me. That's what the prince wants, and that's the leverage that I have. And one other thing, and I hope you'll forgive me for not telling you this earlier. I understand it goes against maybe the spirit of our agreement. However, understand that this is the first time I've really directly gone against my family here. There is a price on your head from the Garu. That price has been levied towards my family to help pay. I am not involved, but the other two in my family are.
You know, we never really got into the details of why I was delayed and distracted. You reached out to me a few times. Oddly enough, I had some dogs I had to deal with, causing some problems. Makes sense? When you're in our position, Dorian, and you're coming up to speed very quickly, might I add. There's enemies everywhere. And while that's disappointing to hear, I appreciate your candor and honesty in that. That doesn't surprise me about your siblings. Let's face the facts. They've not really been a fan of our relationship or partnership. They like to cling on to you. Problem with clinging on to you tightly is when you're in the ocean, they could drag you down with them. Now, I feel I have done nothing but try to help them. Silas, not so much. Silas kind of lives on his island. He cares really only about one thing, and that's his studies and his sorcery and his rituals and his maybe girlfriend and whatever else he's got going on. I kind of expect that Tremere will do what they do, and they have priorities. Willow, on the other hand, I've gone above and beyond for. And for her to do what she's done, I mean, she fucked directly with the Camarilla in a big way, Dorian. With me. I'm sure you heard of the unfortunate circumstances of a business of mine, a rather large investment. I'm capable, I'm capital, I'm me, but the scope of that business venture went beyond me. That was something I was directly working with the prince. So you see, the problem here is when an ally does something like that to me, there needs to be consequences. Now, the prince has assured me that he's handling it in his own way. And, well, As you know, the prince's word is law, so I trust he is, but tell me, Dorian, have you heard of the circulatory system? You know what that is?
Dorian, unfamiliar to you. I don't think
Yeah,
you
not
have
in
heard of
Critias's
it.
classes, right?
No, it's not something that's been brought up in his classes, no.
Think of it as underground blood trafficking. There are
Okay.
countless kindred with specific needs, specific tastes. How do you get those? How do we help maintain the masquerade? Well, it helps to have a network. You see, the Camarilla and the Ventrue in particular were the foundation, right, of any structure. And I was working on that with the prince with my new Helios line. You see, yes, there's a lot of health benefits, tracking, aid, things like that. But the one thing that you get is tracking of every single blood type in this city and beyond. Things that you can track, that you can use, that you can... You see where I'm going with this?
I do.
And Willow blew it up.
Yeah. I understand the problem that poses you and the prince. I want to make a better commitment to our partnership. And if there's something you need from me to make that right, I'll try, but this is still my family, Kayden.
Of course. They are a version of blood, yes. But I need you to think bigger. You said you're getting a taste of what it means to be Ventrue. It's time to come into the fold. It's time to commit. Now, we are aligned, and I am supporting you in your endeavors with your father and whoever else they may be allied with, and I will help your family with what we agreed to. But you have to realize that eventually that kinship, that closeness is going to break because they're going to have their own things they need to focus on. They're going to have their own missions and tasks, as will you, as you continue to rise. I'm not saying that you need to cast them off completely, but you need to make some distance and focus on what's important for you and for us. Because there is a bright, bright future for you, Dorian. And for me, and for us. And you know that. So, what I'm asking for is more trust. Now, you mentioned a power, something that you hold sway of. There are murmurings, there are lots of whispers around. What is it? Blatant. What is this power that you hold? What is it that everyone is so afraid of?
Almost certainly a Methuselah. I'm sure you know more about them than I do, but I do know that I should have control over this one.
And that's the lineage. That would make sense why dear old dad is causing such a scare.
And it's why he wants my kids.
Right.
That's why they're a priority as well. Not just for me and my family, but for you, for the city, for the prince. Right?
Dorian, believe it or not, I have a soft spot. Okay. I made a promise to you. You're a little bit dazed, but I am doing everything and sparing no resource to try to find their location. Now, they very well could be at home with dear old dad, but what he did was unacceptable and not okay in any sense of the word. And we will find them, and we will get them back. And I'm sorry. that he did that. That's... Kayden kind of like stares off for a second, and you see him kind of like subconsciously start like kind of running his hand down the scar on his face. Things like that shouldn't happen. That's part of the reason why we work so hard to become who we are. Is to stop things like that. So we'll make that right. I promise you.
But they do happen, Kayden, in this world. You know, it was chaotic before I understood all the workings of the kindred and this world beyond what we knew. So, what is it that you want me to do about my sister, Kayden?
You could start with an apology. That'd be nice. But I'm not asking you to do anything with your sister except for shift the focus after we deal with your father and we get your kids back. It's time to come into the fold, as I said. And we need to be lockstep next to each other for this to work. I want you there with me. Like we said, those many, many nights ago, our alliance, our lineage, our legacy, our bloodlines are in the essence of ancient itself. We are destined for greatness. We deserve greatness because we are great. And together, we are unstoppable. But that falls on you. They can be great in their own ways. Silas and Willow are wonderful. But you hold the power. You hold the family's future. You're a Ventrue, just like the prince, just like me. So I need you to wake up and focus on what's important. Of course, after we deal with dear old dad.
You have my alliance. You have my word. As Ventrue, we are going to rebuild the city. I very much intend to restore my family name. That name is a name synonymous with Ventrue and the Camarilla. I haven't seen any other path for my future beyond that, ever since I learned what this kindred life was and what my dad was doing. So if you want me to commit to being a Ventrue, it's already done.
And your commitment to me?
I hope that putting all the cards out on the table would show you that I trust you completely. I have nothing else I'm holding back here. All I will say is, should we be as successful as we think, as we hope to be, and we take out my father, who's to say how the control of this power is going to go? Might be difficult to keep it at bay at first. If there were some enemies around that you needed taken care of. The prince expects some chaos.
Those are good words, Dorian. But I knew I had your trust when you let your wife stay with me these last few nights. No one else here but me and my people. That takes trust. Do you trust me? And I don't want you to answer what you think I want to hear. I want to know if you genuinely trust me.
Genuinely.
Yes.
Kayden, no, I don't trust you. I don't trust you, the man behind the Bartlett name. I don't trust you as the CEO of a competitor company, or as a man with certain values, or as a kindred within the Camarilla. I trust what I know about you. I trust that aspect that we are in alignment on, that ideal, that goal that we're both working towards. I believe in that. I see that clearly in you as clearly as I see it in me. So that's what I trust. And I think that that's what you see in me as well. And if it was any other way, I don't think this would work as well as it does.
I can see that. And I would mostly believe that, but then it comes to your family. Family's important. Your wife, I mean, not your siblings and your kids. And the choice you had to make, and then the decision you made afterwards, that does show trust beyond the vision you see of our future and our goals aligned. I do see that. And I think it's time to give you a little bit of trust in return. You shared with me probably your biggest secret, your family's biggest secret, the power to potentially control something catastrophic. You also trusted me with the care of your wife. We are already allies, but I want to truly grow that. But I also want to give you a reason to trust me more, if you want.
Of course. Of course.
What I'm about to show you, Dorian, no one knows about. No one, except for a very, very select few. I can count them on one finger. It's taking a lot for me to decide this choice. But I think for us to fully move forward, and I think to really ingratiate this future that we're both vying for, it's important for me to show a little vulnerability. As you did with your wife. Come with me. And Kayden gets up. And the outside of the building that you're in looks like just like some kind of like standard rundown warehouse, right? The odd things that you'd probably notice are the insane amounts of cameras on the outside. And as you're inside this, there are guards and personnel everywhere. And it's super high-end, high-tech on the inside. As you kind of been sitting in this like office, is like one of his offices. And he takes you kind of down a hallway, and there's security checkpoint after security checkpoint after security checkpoint. And we stop for a moment at this like room with this large window, and you can see your wife is there being taken care of. I wanted to make this stop first, as I know it's important that you see her. As you can see, she's in good hands. We're doing all that we can to help with the transition.
Is she awake? Like, is she?
She's awake. Yes.
Oh, allow me. And he goes and he gets on this keypad. He turns a couple things, and you see this kind of like shimmer on the glass, and then it like becomes like fully like clear. She can see out now.
Adeline.
Dorian. I'm okay.
He puts his hand on the glass.
She moves closer to, I'm okay. You didn't tell me about this hunger, you know? It's not very pleasant. It's like a constant, like, gut-wrenching pain that I need to constantly... Ugh, I just need to, like, fulfill it.
It gets easier. Not easy, but easier. Everything is gonna be okay. It's gonna be taken care of. The pieces that we needed in place, they're in place now. We have our allies. We're gonna get them back.
He looks at you. I know you will. It's in your blood, Dorian. I only wish I could be there to help.
Soon, you will be... You'll be able to do whatever you want. Just about.
That time will come. For now, I just have to get through this.
We're gonna be strong. This family, the family that we've built, stronger than anything my dad could have ever imagined or hoped for. And he looks back at Kayden for a moment.
You see him smirking as you say that.
We're not just gonna survive. We're gonna win.
She nods and she looks at you, Dorian, in a longing way. You can tell the bond from the embrace. It still lingers there, and when you do get embraced, you feel a connection to your sire. And she acknowledges that. Soon.
Soon. And she's going to give he's going to give a nod to her, the same way that they used to when it was mortal affairs and she knew it was time for for him to go off and do his family business. But now the weight of it is different.
Mm-hmm.
As you're doing that nod, Kayden's kind of pulling up a chart, and you actually see like a doctor like next to him. And he just kind of asks her, what's her status? Is she okay for a quick actual visit?
The state of the hunger pains, and they're still quite high. She still poses a risk. For her sire, she may be safe, but any others, it could be dangerous.
Thank you. Dorian, would you like to hug your wife?
Dorian's not even going to respond. He's just going to wait for you to open the door.
It's like a two-prong, almost like a space, like vent out the oxygen in one. So he opens the one door and you kind of walk in, and then it closes securely behind you. And after a second, the other door opens and you are free to walk into the room with your wife.
And as soon as that door opens, he's going to grab her in a tight hug and embrace and hold her for a moment.
You hold her, you embrace her, you hug her, and you know that it's different now. She is cold to the touch, just like you. Her body slightly changed, perhaps a bit more emaciated, a bit more corpse-like. She still keeps her features, the hair that she had, the style that it was upon embrace, the curvatures of her face. It's all the same. But also, it is very different.
He runs his hand down her cheek and looks her in the eyes. We truly are going to have eternity together now.
Well, and it won't be like your father and mother. It'll be different. We have that power to make a difference in your family, Dorian.
Of course. Yeah. We're going to be different. And he's going to pull away. Kayden.
Opens the door and allows you to leave. As you kind of approach him from the beginning, but I just wanted to make sure it was safe. Not that I think she would have done anything to you, but that's also part of the face. Now, and he looks uncomfortable. This is probably the first time that you can see that there's like some inner conflict with Kayden, and there's some uncomfortability discussing and talking about this. Now's the time to give you trust back. I want you to meet someone. And he walks down a hallway to an elevator, and he steps inside and beckons you to join him.
He follows.
And out of like some crazy tech movie, you see like this like scan of the elevator. There's no markings, there's no floors, there's no nothing, but you see this kind of like head to toe scan. And then you just hear you see this like slight green light click on as the elevator descends. You know, the first thing she did when she woke up was ask about the kids. It was difficult to not have an answer. As the door to the elevator opens, you enter this like kind of short hallway, and then you see just like one like large room in the center. And he puts his hand on Kayden Bartlett. It registers and the door opens this way. in the same process, the door closes. There's another door. You see a familiar scan head to toe. That door opens. And you see a small, almost hospital room. Clean, white, with all kinds of different instruments, doctor's equipment. And in the center, you see a larger, comfortable bed. And you see a young, probably teenage girl with blonde hair lying there, hooked up to countless machines. Dorian, I'd like for you to meet my sister, Sarah.
Your sister.
She can't speak to you. She's in a coma. When I say that no one knows about this, you see, just like your father did to you, they could use her against me. And maybe it's the situation surrounding your father that makes me compelled to show this act of trust and faith in you. But she's been like this for 8 years. We were on a trip, my family and I. Cabin, lake, some sort of excursion. My father said it would be good to get out of the city, away from the business and the hustle and bustle and deal making. It was one of the few times he actually had time for me and the family. We never made it to the cabin. We were ambushed. Our car rammed off the road, tumbling down a mountainside. It was a blur. And then there was howls. And the largest wolves I had ever seen. And he kind of like subconsciously begins to like caress the scar on his cheek, running down his face. She made it. I made it. Well, she mostly made it. I hope to shed some light and a little bit of understanding into my feelings in regards to certain, well, dogs.
Dorian will put his hand on Kayden's shoulder as he looks towards the bed. It's a lot to share. Maybe we are even more similar than I thought.
I'm beginning to see that. I am remiss to say that I hope you keep this close to the vest.
I won't tell anyone. Not a soul.
Well, there's other precautions in place already. She rarely stays in one place. He just kind of like walks up to her, kind of like brushes the hair like away from her face a bit. I'm still working on it, but I'll find him. Don't worry. Them and their whole fucking pack. And he just kind of like turns. Shall we?
Let's go. Yeah, and Dorian will follow him back through the multiple elevators and security checkpoints.
And yeah, we get up to the top and go ahead, Storyteller.
The two of you exit this location. You one last check on your wife before you leave and head back to the city, to your company, well, both of your shared company, Vital Medical Group, to check in for the evening, as you always do. And arriving at the building, you actually see your sibling, Willow. Willow, for this evening, you stop by the office to pay a visit to hopefully your brother, but to your surprise, you also see with him Kayden, the three of you in the lobby, greeting each other.
Oh. You know, that's so funny. I actually thought you would be here. Had a feeling.
I mean, he does work here.
Oh, I mean you.
Oh. Did you perceive that from some premonition? Willow?
Kayden.
Dorian, you can sense a tense air between the two, especially based on the things that the two of you just discussed.
Dorian, do you mind if I talk with Kayden? In your office? Can I borrow your
I
office?
guess. Yeah.
Okay.
And behind her, Lucas is behind her, and he's holding a large bouquet.
Don't mind Lucas. I'll send him away when we get up there. If you have time.
Sure.
Perfect. Come on.
And they go up.
See you soon.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go sit in Dorian's fancy chair.
Dorian's gonna go sulk in the lobby.
Thanks for letting me borrow your office. She won't sit in the big chair yet, actually, but she will. She won't close the door once they're both in, but she will gesture to Lucas to hand her what he's holding. And it is a bouquet of gladiolus, which is a very pretty flower. That is an upward stem with many teeny 5-petal star-like flowers in a kind of darker blue hue. And it is, accented with a little bit of baby's breath. And she will hand them to you.
I believe I owe you an apology.
With flowers.
They're not just flowers. Do you want to know what the significance of them is?
Enlighten me.
Happy to. I thought that I would get something that called back to your ancestry. See, gladiolus were actually really common in Rome for being used to celebrate victories. They're associated with bravery and strength and victory. And I chose the blue color because that's kind of your clan's thing. Oh, and the baby's breath, the white looked best, and the best meaning I can garner from that is new beginnings. It can also mean like everlasting love and innocence, but I choose the first option personally. And I
Very
don't
nice.
imagine people send you flowers very often.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, but do they put that kind of thought into it?
I mean, is it the same amount of thought you put into blowing up my building?
I figured you would be upset. If it helps, which I know it doesn't, I had to if I wanted to get the Anarchs to follow me. Because I'm going to use them as the prince instructs me to. Which he is.
And now you're what, loyal to the prince? Hard to believe, considering the building you blew up was his design.
He didn't seem too upset when he made me sign it in blood.
I see.
He said, as long as I kept them on a leash, then he was happy with it. And that's why I wanted to apologize. It's not something I wanted to do, but it's something I needed to do to get them to follow me. A measured sacrifice. I made sure it was something that you could recover easily.
That shows you how little you know. Recover easily wouldn't be what I would say, but the prince has made his judgment. Interesting.
I am sorry I had to blow up your building. Truly. I mean it.
I'm sure you think that.
I think that. I feel it too.
Is that your words, or is that some influence you might be feeling?
From the prince, you mean?
Mm.
No, I'm pretty sure he would have preferred I didn't either, but he understood the choice.
Well, that's the benefit of us. We see the bigger picture. Apology accepted, Willow. It's a setback, yes, but that's what contingencies are for.
Mhm.
We'll make do elsewhere. Now that you've got the Anarchs in line, from what it seems. Or maybe don't. I don't know. But I appreciate the gesture of goodwill. So thank you.
Of course.
And the flowers are a nice touch.
Yeah, I thought it was nice.
I know
And-
the perfect place to put these.
Oh.
I feel like you don't believe me.
Whether I believe you or not, Willow is irrelevant. You are bound to the Camarilla now. And I don't need to be worried anymore if what you say is true. Which is
I'm
all
hap-
I ever cared about.
I'm happy to show you if you want.
I'm good. I'll take your word for it.
Interesting. That feels very loaded. You're talking a lot like how my dad does.
Well, I mean, we do run in the same circles, just I'm not quite as shitty as he is. I
Great.
guess I should ask how you're faring after everything.
Oh, after the kidnapping?
Quite.
Yeah. Well, I suffered a little bit to get what I wanted, so I can't be that upset. It gave
Bigger
me
picture.
perfect evidence to show the prince. And now that's enough for him to sanction us, essentially, well, taking care of him.
Well, it doesn't seem like you're going to need much of my help after all.
I think we'd still appreciate it, though.
Well, I've been helping Willow. Just Some of you chose not to see it, which is fine. It's expected. We didn't get off on the best foot, I would say.
That's fair. Well, will you accept this as a olive branch, not olive branch? Because I didn't think about putting olive branch in it, and that would have been so perfect. And pulled on the Roman heritage and everything. Fuck. Ah, damn.
Remember, Willow, big picture. Sure, a fresh start.
You promise?
Of course. As long as you don't go try to blow up any of my buildings or meddle in any of my affairs anymore, which doesn't seem like it'll be the case. Can't say the same for dear old dad.
Yeah. And if I do accidentally do that, I'll call you.
No accidents.
If it has to be purposely done, I'll ask. How about that? Is that fair?
Fair enough. At least you give me time to adequately adjust things.
Seems fair. Would you be willing to shake on this, but not, I'm not meaning like shake in a, I'm trying to read your mind way. I have to start clarifying that now. That you do mean it's a new beginning. We could start by going out to a dinner, or we could go somewhere fun. Casually, like friends would do.
Ah, not a date, then.
I didn't think you were interested, so I wasn't going to ask.
Well, I don't own a leather jacket.
Very funny. Very, people say Ventrue don't have a sense of humor, but I would disagree.
You just had a shitty upbringing.
Yeah.
Makes me we're great at parties. He kind of like hesitates and he ponders and he thinks for a bit and kind of glances back and he thinks about Dorian and kind of like what they kind of just discussed and kind of went through. And normally I wouldn't, but sure. And he holds his hand out.
So it's a deal. We're going out on a maybe friend date, maybe not friend date.
I meant more like we can start fresh and we'll see.
Fine. This seems like your way of weaseling out of going out sometime.
In time. Trust takes time, after all.
Yeah. What better way to trust somebody than to go out to a insanely loud, overstimulating place?
I guess that's one way, but I think we're going to be busy the next few nights. We can shelve that for later.
A celebratory one.
Let's
Okay.
hope.
Oh. That's funny. I'm not familiar with the concept of not getting what I want.
How Ventrue of you.
I was raised by one. Two, actually.
Yeah. Well, at least we'll have a little bit of fun. And he'll shake your hand.
She'll shake it. And there's no hijinks at all.
He puts
But
down the
suddenly,
dagger. No,
As you do, I'm just kidding.
I roll my aspects.
he puts the dagger back in his. No, I was kidding. And yeah, he'll hold the door open to let you out, unless there is anything else you'd wish to discuss.
Oh, don't forget that you still owe me a nice piece of jewelry. Remember?
Yeah, unfortunately, that was in the warehouse attached to the building that you blew up. So
Oh, dang. Well, you can always send me the bill.
consider it done.
Her forwarding to Dorian.
And,
Real?
yeah, and he'll head back down to meet Dorian in the lobby with Willow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dorian.
Of course.
Dorian catching up with Shannon at the front lobby. You see Kayden.
So
Yes, she's still in one piece. Dorian.
Yeah, does she
Yeah.
remember what happened?
yeah, like that's the first time. It's been a while since I spoke to McCarthy, right?
Yes, she's back at the office and she's in good spirits.
That's so good.
Okay, that's great. I'm so.
Yes.
It's so good to see you again, Shannon. Honestly, you should probably take some more time off. Really, if
Hey,
you want,
I might take you up on that.
long as you want. You've earned it.
Perhaps a long
Sabbatical.
sabbatical. Yes, we're on the same page. I'm gonna take a 3-month sabbatical.
Yeah, and a
For her.
raise.
A
Yeah,
paid sabbatical, right? Paid leave?
sabbatical, 100%.
Great.
Girl, get your bag.
I'm so glad you're back. All right. And he just walks away all guilty, sheepish like.
Poor McCarthy.
It's
Oh.
funny because Kayden has also messed with her, so he kind of like walks with you, like,
Poor McCarthy.
and just walk away with you.
God, she's good at her job. He just
Very
walks
nice.
away.
Tastes good too.
Oh my god.
It's a thing me and Dorian do. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
Do you know how many people of mine he sank his?
Oh.
It's discussion
have-
for another time.
that's-
Yeah,
True,
Yeah.
actually.
yeah. Remember Barry, marketing
We've-
exec? Yeah, you fucked up a deal for me big time.
Oh, you know better than most about having particular tastes.
I do. Sorry about that real estate brokerage that you were doing falling through. Hey, what's a little back and forth, right?
It's all just fun and games.
Let's get a drink.
Sounds good.
Willow's
Dorian
buying.
will go ahead. Oh,
Fine. Dorian,
Okay.
I forwarded a very important bill to you that you need to check later.
oh, fantastic. You can
Yeah.
add this to that too if you want.
Oh no, I'll happily pay for this night out. That's nothing. It seems only fair.
Okay.
The three of you, after checking in at the company, head out for an evening where we see Kayden Bartlett securing his alliance with the Lysanders, and perhaps in this, not just Dorian, but the family as a whole. For so long, the alliance between these two Ventrues seemed uneasy, uncertain. If it was all going to fall completely apart on itself, if it was an alliance with daggers hidden behind their backs. But it seems that now it remains one of trust. And Kayden Bartlett, a descendant of Hardestat, now works with the Lysanders and offers his help, aid, and services alongside Prince Kevin Jackson to deal with the coming threat that is to come in these nights. So, Kayden, as you do offer your services and alliance, we thank you for joining us for this evening
Thank you, Kayden.
and helping secure an alliance between our Lysanders and yourself. Thank
It
you,
was-
Adam.
A pleasure. Thank you for having me and allowing me to be a part of this story. This probably is the last time you'll see me, but who knows? We'll see. I also had to wear my Ventrue ring, just like B Dave. Okay, I had to wear it.
Matching
the last one,
twinsies.
we had to,
Yep.
but no, thank you guys for letting me be a part of the story and to play Kayden. It's not easy to play, but it's like not fun to get along with either. But I had an absolute blast.
Thank you, Adam, and truly playing Kayden Bartlett and all of his slimy schemingness, even like with the Garu, it has truly been it has helped our plot so much, and I really appreciate you joining us to play this more like kind of anti-hero antagonistic type character. And so we appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I am excited to see what's to come as Kayden continues to be part of the Lysander story, at least for this time. So thank you again, our hardest at Ventrue, for joining us.
Even from the grave, I shall rule.
Mm.
Bye, friends.
Bye,
Bye,
Adam.
Adam.
Bye. And before we close out for this evening, I bring us to one last scene with our Tremere, Silas. Silas, on this night, you rouse at the chantry and are just on your way to head to Guaranteed Rate Field to check on the ritual and the status, where appearing at the front of the chantry is an individual, a woman you have never seen before. She has long dark hair, very well dressed, and has a certain presence that you can immediately gather who she is. This is who Prince Kevin Jackson had told you was going to be meeting with the Tremere, Justicar Lucinda.
Hello there. You must be
Hello.
Lucinda.
Yes, and you are?
Silas Lysander Jr.
You see her look down and around. Lysander, yes.
I assume you've been informed.
Yes. The prince has brought me up to speed on the events of Chicago. I am here to oversee the ritual performed by your clan.
I was informed of that as well, yes. I just so happened to be heading to the location. I was going to walk. It is just a short walk from here.
No need. We'll drive.
Okay. Where do you originally reside?
Overseas.
Overseas?
It was
Well,
quite a
welcome.
long journey for me to get here.
I understand. Well, welcome to Chicago. If there's anything
Thank
else
you.
you may require, feel free to ask.
I haven't been here since 2019. It's been some time, and it's not often that I come to the States these nights, unless it's for something very important.
Well, let me assure you, this is of the highest importance. I'm sure Prince Jackson has filled you in on the happenings of the past nights, as well as what this ritual entails.
Indeed, he has. Tell me, Lysander, you are Tremere, you neonate, young.
Yes?
I wouldn't expect you to be aware of everything that happens in the greater political landscape of the Camarilla, but I'm curious, in your studies, have you ever heard whisperings of what happened in London?
Faintly. remember reading that it fell to hunters.
Second Inquisition, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Well, before that happened, there was growing concerns within the city. It is completely in shambles now and no longer has order structure. Camarilla is no longer a part of that city, and that is due to one particular Ventrue. See, Ventrue often do take the role of prince or higher status in many cities. You will see that as a growing trend. But sometimes our blood gets the best of us. You see, this particular Ventrue, he devoted himself to a Methuselah by the name of Mithras, a Ventrue Methuselah. And, well, I certainly wouldn't want to see the same thing happen to Chicago. Terrible, terrible incident. But this is the dangers of ancient kindred and the threats of ancient kindred in the city, that perhaps they are sometimes seen as gods. And I worry that you and your bloodline and your father, is it? That could be a potential threat that we see here. And if that is the case, we need all hands on deck for this situation, you see.
That is why we have done what we've done with this baseball field, yes. As soon as we can root out the issue, the sooner we can fell it.
The best we can hope for is that this is nothing but a hoax from your family. And if that is the case, well, there will be severe punishments for that. That is the best case.
Punishments for being diligent.
There is much that is happening. These threats, everything that your family, that the city has done. We do not take this lightly, you see, Silas.
I fully understand, Justicar. But I'd like to make it known I am no longer my father's son. I am no Ventrue. I am no member of his coterie.
Yes, yes. The prince made that clear, Prince Jackson made it clear that the three of you are to be absolved of any crimes associated with that of your father, but depending on the severity of the situation, we will determine this within the inner circle of Justicars and Archons.
I understand.
We will not have another London incident.
Nor do I want one. Enlighten me. You mentioned Mithras in London. I don't mean to pry, but how many Ventrue Methuselahs are there?
That remains to be seen. My hope is that there will be none for us to worry about. But our antediluvian had many childer.
I understand.
Now, to the field, shall we?
Absolutely.
the two of you continue in the vehicle. Silas, you sit with Justicar Lysander, a Ventrue of great power, more than any in this city, at least those to the visible eye, and head to Guaranteed Rate Field. And that is where we will conclude this evening session. And when we return tomorrow night, we will actually start with you, Silas,
Okay.
and begin the ritual process. So get yourself ready. Everybody get yourselves ready for a level 5 blood sorcery ritual, Fisher King, from the amazing book Blood Sigils. If you want to see that ritual in action, join us tomorrow night for Ancestral Blood. Yes, tomorrow night. For those who might have missed it, we are playing tomorrow as our penultimate episode. And there is still a lot to go through. So this was a very packed session. We had a lot of stuff happen, but there is more to come. And this was a lot of talking. I expect the next episode to be a little more action. So get yourselves ready, everybody. Get a little
Wait, you expect tomorrow to be a little more? Oh,
yes.
Tomorrow is the action.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
okay.
So
Oh, boy.
buckle up, everybody. We're getting right into it tomorrow night. I hope we're all ready. Oh, Lord. Okay. Yes, we will be back tomorrow night, same time, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, for Ancestral Blood, the penultimate, the fate of the Lysanders and the bloodline Lysander happening. And it's gonna move into gear tomorrow. I'm sorry. I think I'm also processing it as a thing. We've hyped it up for so long, and now it's actually happening. So that's happening. So anyway, we'll see you there tomorrow, and then for our finale next Friday, everybody. So thanks again. Thanks to our special guests, B. Dave Walters and ArcaneAdam, for playing the amazing Ventrue. Both of them amazing Ventrue. Prince Kevin Jackson and Kayden Bartlett, descendant of Hardestat. We'll be back tomorrow, everybody. So see you then. Don't let the beast win. Have a good evening, everybody.
Good night.
All right.
Bye, friends.